Also, everybody, thank you for joining for the last session for the day. Thank you for coming to BSides here. I want to thank our sponsors, St. Mary, USA is our main sponsor, Island, and various others as well too, and thank you for your participation. Without further ado, I'm looking forward to this topic about mentorship and study. Everyone give a round of applause for Bonifacio, Capuyan.
All right, thank you, everybody. Test. You guys can hear me in the back. Can you guys hear me in the back? Good? Okay, cool. So, hello, everybody. I know this is the last talk, so thank you for joining. I know it's been a long day. I was here last year, and BSides is a very good resource for cybersecurity professionals, right? Great resource. Tons of knowledge, great networking experience. So I'm gonna jump right into it. So my name is Bonifacio Capuyan. I go more commonly by the name of Bon, just so it's easier. I'm looking at people's faces here because usually when I say my name Bon, they come up with like a nickname, right? Growing up, I've heard it all. So Bonfire, James Bond, Bonafide, Bon Jovi, yeah. So my personal favorite is Shake Your Bon Bon. So just fun fact. All right, so I'm gonna run through a brief introduction of myself. I'm a senior staff inbound product manager at ServiceNow. And a disclaimer, I'm not representing ServiceNow in this talk at all. This is just my personal view based on the past 3 years I've been mentoring cybersecurity students, okay? So these are all my own personal thoughts, my own personal research, et cetera. So real briefly, these are the certifications that I have for myself, and I caution people who are just getting into the industry about getting vendor-specific certifications. The reason I'm doing vendor-specific certifications, I'm 10 years deep into ServiceNow, so it's my bread and butter. I'm all in, right? So I decided, and my bosses have just, have made it mandatory for me to take these certifications and maintain them, right? So that's why I'm taking them. So these are the more industry recognized certifications that I have: CISM, CISA, CISSP. Some of these probably sound familiar to you guys. The reason why I left this one in here because it's expired is because in my career mid-tier, it was very critical for me as a turning point to kind of make a turn in my career, right? It was really important for me personally. I don't know about you, if you guys, how you guys feel about it, but for me, it was a good turning point in my career. I'll talk about a little bit later. That's why I put it up there. So question, how many people are trying to get into cybersecurity? I'm trying to get like a gauge. Okay, so a pretty decent amount of you guys. Good, okay. So how many people are in IT but trying to pivot into cybersecurity? Okay, cool. All right. And lastly, how many people are in cybersecurity and want to level up? Okay, cool. It's like 30, 30, 30. That's a good mix. Okay, cool. All right, trying to get a gauge of the room, so I might kind of tailor what I talk about, to kind of fit the audience. So here's a quick overview of what I'm going to talk about, so everyone knows what to expect, and I'm not going to go off the rails. I'm going to keep on track. This talk is only 25 minutes, so I'm going to kind of have to get through all the information I have really fast. So feel free to stop me if you guys have any questions. All right, so I'm going to talk about the success rates of people who I talk to, mentors from non-paid boot camps to paid boot camps. All right, so let me explain what this means, right? Okay, so this is the overview. I'm going to talk about key factors to success, key factors to failures, resume tips, how to search for jobs, et cetera, and then my own personal career journey. I left that last because I want to make sure you guys get the information up front, right? So success rates for paid versus non-paid versus corporate sponsored versus paid boot camps. So there's two, I mentor for two programs. One was a program, and I'm not going to name names. You could come after this talk and ask me what the name is, but I don't want to sponsor any. This is a non-sponsored event, right? So, and this is a paid corporate boot camp where companies pay for people to take courses. So black belt tip. You can work for these companies, and they will pay for your education in regards to any type of technical trade you want to learn, and they'll also pay for your college education as well too. The restriction is that you don't already have a college degree. So if you don't have a college degree, you'll be eligible to enter these programs. So the companies that offer these programs are, and I've worked with them people who work for Chase Bank, PNC Bank, Walmart, Target, Lowe's. Some of you might be in these programs. USAA also offers this program. But people who are employed by these companies can enter into this program and get free education. Now, if you go into the college program, which is I think is a great benefit, there's 3 or 4 colleges that they pay for, and this is when I calculate it out, it's about $100,000 worth of free college, right? So if you're interested in that, you can talk to me afterwards. I can give you a little bit more information. So that's the corporate sponsored boot camp. Now I'm going to talk about the success rate was very low, right? Reason being, obviously, is they're not paying for it, so they took advantage of it and they didn't take it very seriously. So you're talking about people who entered boot camps who come from, and I'm not trying to disparage people's jobs or whatnot, but kids just straight out of high school say, hey, I work at Walmart, I push carts. I want to check out cybersecurity. What's it all about, right? So they come in like, oh, not really for me, and they dip out, right? So, and there's a lot of that. So that happened a lot in the beginning when they offered that, and now kind of tapered off because the company pays about $8,000 a pop to get these people in, and when they fail out, that's like a loss for them, right? And the one thing that the student doesn't know is that if they abandon the course, they're no longer eligible to take any course again, right? So they give up all that free education, right? So the next course was a paid course that I mentored for, and it's sponsored by a lot of colleges, and the course is about 12 to 15 grand, and a lot of people, you see the success rate is a lot higher, 32%. The reason being, obviously, is because people are putting their time and money into it, so they want to actually finish it, right? So it's about 12 grand, about 6 to 10 months. All right, so I'm going to jump into the things I saw were common denominators in people who finished the course and were ultimately able to get a job, right? So it's really the why. All right, there's a bunch of reasons here why people succeeded. And the main thing I want to kind of, it was their kind of season in life, right? I talked to a lot of folks who are like, hey, I just had a kid. I can't work in this job. I need to level up. I need to get into tech. I just got married. My wife's like a nurse and I need to like match her salary. I need to be, on par with her, the breadwinner. So for me personally, when I got into, my career field, I was just newly married. I had a kid on the way. I had an apartment to pay for. I had a car payment. So basically, the key factor is that their wall was up against, the back was up against the wall, right? They had no choice but to succeed, right? That's how I see a lot of people really kind of, passing through the course. And I see a lot of people in blue collar jobs, a lot of truckers for some reason. They want to get into cybersecurity or tech because they're tired of long, drives, whatnot. They want to be home with their families, et cetera. A lot of law enforcement, military. I see that a lot. It's very often. I had a boss for quite some time. He's ex-military. So you see a lot of that, right? What else did I miss? Yeah, cool. And also some other key traits are consistency. People who actually block out scheduled time to focus on their studies, focus on their course, right? They have like a Monday and Wednesday and a Sunday night that they're always going to, take care of the course. They prioritize it, right? It's important to them. And then finally, people who also, people who are curious, who always show up to the mentor calls, they have questions, they want advice, they're very humble about, self-improvement, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. All right, so key factors in failure, people who I see always drop out, and there's a lot of them, is lack of prioritization for the program, right? They're like, okay, I'm gonna show up on Monday, I'm gonna do some stuff on Monday, I'm gonna take a week off. Maybe on Wednesday, I'll spend some time. Okay, I'm going on vacation, I'm gonna take a week off. So to them, it's not a priority. And you can't really knock those people because, depending on what stage they're in their life, a lot of these people always have jobs, they have a family, they have other commitments, they're trying to juggle things around. And so naturally, some of these things just kind of fall off, right? Some people, they take a look at the curriculum and they go, oh, networking, OSI networking model, ports, AWS, AD objects. They're kind of like, okay, I'm out. They tap. They're okay, I can't do it, right? Some people, they enter in the course, they take 2, 3, they fall behind 1, 2, 3 weeks, they can't catch up, and then their motivation is gone. They can't finish, right? And then finally, the most common one I see is the lack of motivation. People, whenever I talk to people, students, I go, hey, my first thing is I ask them is like, why do you want to get into this field, right? And a lot of times people go, oh, I want to work remote and make 6 figures, right? That's nice. However, it's not, me personally, I've been working from home for like 6 years. And, people think, oh, I'm going to go, people see these TikTok videos and they're like getting coffee, going to the rooftop bar in San Francisco, and then they're, doing an hour meeting and then they go to happy hour, right? That's not the reality, right? I work from home. I work like 12-hour days, 5, 6 days a week. I got a team that's in California. I'm in Texas. I work with folks in the UK, developers in India, Canada. My director's in Canada. So I'm always, the expectation of like, oh, hey, I'm just going to chill, work remote, be in Italy for 2 weeks, party in the day, work at night to match PST hours. It's not the reality, right? Okay, so I'm going to jump into resume building tips, okay? And this is kind of important when I'm working with folks who finished their boot camp and they want to spice up their resume. Obviously, finishing the boot camp is very important because you can put that on your resume. The main thing you want to do is get through that first filter of recruiters, right? They're the gatekeepers, right? You got to get past them. And the gatekeepers like keywords, they like acronyms, they like Security Plus, et cetera. There's some additional certifications that I've added. So Security Plus obviously is the main entry point if you want to get legitimized in this career, right? I didn't take the Security Plus because I was already had my eyes on the CISSP. But there's a lot of there's a lot of Security Pluses. There's like tons. So that's like the first stage gate. You got to be able to at least get that at a minimum and start working other certificates at the same time, right? Now, I advise some folks who want to kind of shortcut it to, okay, skip the boot camps, go straight to Security Plus, study the Security Plus, because if you study the Security Plus, you're studying to pass the cert, and you're also you're learning cybersecurity at the same time. You're hitting 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Forget the 12 grand you can spend on the private boot camp. Forget the programs elsewhere. Jump to that. And the best resource is Professor Messer. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. You've probably heard of him. Don't bother going anywhere else. Professor Messer, 120 videos, 7 minutes on average, bias practice questions, and do that. Every single person that I've worked with to get the Security Plus, I said, do that, they passed, right? Like 99%, right? Also look towards those newer certificates as well too, right? Now, hands-on experience in labs, that's also very important because if you're in the bootcamp situation, Infosys labs, you do hands-on stuff, that's great. If you don't have Infosys labs, you want to do it yourself, there's Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, picoctf.org. There's a lot of resources online that you could get hands-on with. But make sure you put that on your resume, because when you talk to the hiring manager, they want to know what demonstrable experience that you have. They want you could tell them, hey, yeah, I was behind the thing and I was like hacking out, different commands, set up IP tables or whatnot, right? So that's very important, right? Being able to talk to that. So LinkedIn profile, 100% necessary. If you don't have one, I don't know someone who got a job in tech and doesn't have a LinkedIn profile. Also, easy apply. That's the best way to kind of like hammer out applications, right? You upload your resume, easy apply, boom, 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 boom. And also consider if you have time, consider making specific resumes towards specific jobs, right? Try to match a job description to your profile or to your resume, if you can, if you have that time. And then use ChatGPT to kind of polish up your resume. All right, so let's jump into, any questions so far? No questions? Okay. Cool.
Is there like a point of diminishing returns where if you're trying to get into the industry, you have too many certs?
There is, yeah. It kind of confuses you because I had those certs I showed to you, but I also have a bunch of Splunk certs. that I spent a lot of time on, and I'm kind of on the fence about. I spent a lot of time on the Splunk certs and a lot of energy, and I don't use them anymore, right? So was it worth it? I don't know. You know, I actually tried to apply for a Splunk job and they didn't accept me. I'm like, wait a minute, I got all your certs. Why don't you? So yeah, I think so. There's definitely there's diminishing returns on, you know. To new people, I say, you know, focus on the general certs, Security Plus, A Plus, Network Plus, Linux Plus. I say focus on those. Yeah. Question.
Yeah, just a minor terminology question. You have the success rates with the two different types of boot camps. How are you defining success? Is that completing boot camp or is that actually doing the security?
Completing the boot camp. Yeah, completing the boot camp. I've never seen anybody who didn't complete I've never seen anybody who didn't complete a boot camp get a job. Yeah, actually one person, but this is out of like 100 plus people I talked to. Yeah, sir.
Typical length of time of boot camp?
So they give you about 7 months, and you can file extensions to about 10 months. Yeah, I would, if off the record, I would personally not pay for a boot camp. I would go have a company sponsor you for free, and I go to like self-study stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't pay 12 grand. Yeah. That's why I didn't ask to not record this. So. All right, so tips to search and apply for jobs. Number one is networking. Networking. It's who you know, right? I've been in the industry for 23 years, and there's tons of people who I think I have more technical knowledge, and they're like VPs, et cetera. That's the reason why is because they know somebody. Me personally, I've had a relationship with my boss. He kept me employed for 10 years, 3 jobs, 10 years. And he kept me employed in good jobs. These are like 6-figure jobs, right? So that one relationship floated me for 10 years, right? So I'm very grateful. But that's like the number one important thing. Dig into your family, dig into your friends. You might know like an uncle or your uncle's wife who's in tech or something. They'll hook you up, right? Or they'll try to get you in, right? So that's the most important thing. Meetups are also good. Start networking in meetups, be involved. I know BSides is a great opportunity for you to volunteer. You get to know folks, get to know hiring managers. LinkedIn groups is important. And this one too, women in tech. I see a lot of women in tech groups bubbling up, getting popular. And that's a great place for women to network, right? Volunteering internship. I was working with one student, and he was complaining like, "Hey, I'm trying to get a job, but no one really wants to hire me without experience." I said, "Okay, well, what do you do right now?" He's like, "I'm a barista at my church." I'm like, "Okay, well, let's see here. Why don't you go talk to your head of IT at the church and say, hey, I want to volunteer to do whatever tech related," right? So he went to his head of IT over there at his church. He's like, "Okay." And the head of IT is like, "Okay, every Wednesday, I want you to come in. We're going to do a bunch of grunt work, rack stuff or cable things, image, hard drives, etc." So that's one way to get into it too, right? So that way you get hands-on experience, you can actually put it in your resume. So that's really important. Okay, this is a good one too. Volunteer to be a security champion. So a lot of companies have what they call POCs or security champions. So say you're in finance or say you're in HR or whatever, desktop support. They have official, unofficial programs that say, hey, I'm the POC for security. I'm gonna be the liaison or the champion that disseminates all the information in regards to like security awareness or incidents in my department, and I'm going to bring it back to cybersecurity, right? That's a really good way to get involved, right? There's a bunch of other programs too for veterans. NPower, I went last year to a BSides talk, and there was a guy who graduated from NPower. Free education to do job placement. Cyber Texas Foundation, that's a good one too. Free education and job placement. Back in the day, I had we hired there's a program for like low income students from a junior college. We took them in as interns during the summer, and then we showed them some stuff, and some of them we hired on, right? So there are some other BIPOC, it's Black Indigenous People of Color. That's another group that there's a lot of programs to help you get job placement and education. And Etsy is a good one. This is offered by Chase. emerging talent software engineers. Basically what they do, it's a program, they hire you and they train you to do, and their reasons are selfish because they want to train you to learn chase software. So they'll teach you how to code and they'll pay you, and they pay you pretty good. It's like 70K, 80K. I know the program's up in Plano, but it's pretty awesome deal if you can get into it. Right, practice mock interviews. It's always good to, to the mentees I work with, I give them questions that I ask people that I interview for people we're trying to hire. Yep, bye. So yeah, practice mock interviews. When you do get that interview, research the company, because the interviewer is going to say, what do you know about our company? If you don't know what they do, if you don't know what the company does, you're pretty much done. Also research the interviewers. You're going to get an invite that says, hey, you're going to meet with so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. Look at the LinkedIn profile, put it on private because you don't want them to think you're stalking them. Kind of go through what they do and kind of understand what perspective they're going to come with that questions, right? And then take advantage of internal programs. I know every company has a way where they want to build up their internal employees where they could kind of like move internally. I know a lot of people from IT support, there's a program to move them into cybersecurity. Other departments, they have programs to move them into cybersecurity, and other departments as well too. So leverage that. There's also other programs internally. I know Chase has one where you could hire a mentor internally. There's like a list of people you could kind of follow and mentor, and it's a program, right? All right, so realistic job expectations. If you have no experience in IT and you want to jump into cybersecurity, you have to get into tech first. IT tech support, desktop support, you have to get into that. Very rarely will you just jump into a cybersecurity role, right? So for people with a little bit of experience in IT or desktop support, the more realistic expectations, you can get a cybersecurity job. Now, I work with a lot of people who are in another industry, like nursing or transportation or whatnot, and they're like, hey, how can I move over to cybersecurity? It's like, okay, well, let's transfer those skills that you know, the business acumen that you have in that industry, translate into cybersecurity. That's the best way. If you're coming in from nursing, you're making 90K, and you want to go into IT desktop support, you're going to take a huge like salary cut, right? So you got to be a little bit more strategic in how you want to transfer in, right? Cool. All right, I'm going to jump into my kind of personal career to kind of give you a roadmap. You know, I'm not saying follow what I'm doing, but I'm trying to show you how I progress in this career, right? 2022, I made 40K a year, technical support, basically a phone jockey answering phone calls 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. My next role was internal transfer to fraud analyst role. So every time I moved a job, I acquired a skill and I raised my salary, right? Technical support, I learned PHP, MySQL. And when I was a fraud analyst, I learned investigations and MySQL. My next role, so back here, when I was at this role, I got PayPal bought us out, and I got worked for PayPal for a year, and I got laid off. Right, so getting laid off is kind of par for course, right? You got to earn your stripes, get laid off at least twice, right? Good thing about getting laid off is that you know now the signs. You could read the writing on the wall. You could estimate. If I get a hint that we're doing layoffs, I'm updating my resume. I'm reaching out to my network. I'm adding new skills, right? So it's important to kind of read those signs, right? So I moved into a conventional security analyst role, and I was doing forensics there. But I parlayed my fraud investigations into the security analyst role. Now, back to my CISSP. How much time I got here? 2 minutes. Back to my CISSP. This is kind of the turning point for me. And it was kind of a personal story. At this job, I was doing security analyst, and my main role was data leakage. So I caught an alert where someone was sending a spreadsheet from corporate email to their personal email, and the spreadsheet was income, salaries for the whole company. So the curiosity get the best of me. I'm looking through it. I'm like, oh my gosh, my peers are making double what I'm making. And I was like, what in the world? So that forced me to really study hard for the CISSP. So when I got my CISSP, you see I went from 70K to 100K. So that kind of was like my motivation to pass the CISSP. So I got about a minute left. I'm gonna roll through just what I do currently. I'm a senior staff inbound product manager. Previously, I was an engineer. I was really hands-on. Now I'm like hands-on and more of like a liaison to a bunch of different companies and businesses. Yeah, I think we're at time here. So any questions, like 30 seconds for questions? Feel free to reach out to me too if you want to talk about certain things or career advice or whatnot. So yeah, hopefully you got some value out of this. So thank you very much. Questions? Okay. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick announcement, if you don't mind joining us in the main building for closing ceremonies, thank you so much for attending. You have a good day. Stay safe.